Tá vindo, bicho. Meu Deus, que medo, novo Deus. Socorro.
You should have left me sleeping. In a different time, I would have crushed you little gods. But I shall let you endure. Now stare out into the world you have damned, and witness all its dismemberment.
Bem óbvio que o Thor não tem chance nenhuma contra um bicho desse tamanho, né? Então já começa por aí. Já perdeu o X1.
Oh yeah, it's awesome. Jormungandr, a god that has been asked
Benito
for
está
a million
chegando.
times in Smite, has finally arrived, and the bringers of creation here are joining me. It's AJ, it's Clumsy, and it's Josh.
Nós
Josh,
finalmente
part of the
conheceram
gameplay program team. Guys, what
Guys,
made Season 6 the right time to finally bring Jormungandr to
personagem.
Smite?
Well, we need a big snake. We don't have anything
There you
like
have
him, really. You know, we're looking into new things. Arthur and Merlin, we don't have anything quite
Cobrão
like
tá
them.
vindo.
And we were looking for something the community's been asking for a long time that also we don't have anything quite like. And Yorm.
Respeito o
or Jorm
Thor.
is-
Não, eu
We've
respeito
said
o
his
Thor,
name
mas
so
eu
many
acho que ele não
times,
tem
we're already
chance
to the
nenhuma
point
com um
where,
bicho
you know,
daquele
people always
tamanho
come
ali.
with catchy nicknames for gods.
É muito maior do que ele, tem muito mais
And we might
poder
do
do
that a
que
few
ele.
times on
Yeah, no,
accident
I'm
here
sure
on
we
the
will.
couch because we've been saying it a
Also
lot.
easier to
but-
write
Quem é o
that
Thor
out.
perto de uma
Yes.
cobra
Jorm was
gigante?
just so unique in his presentation and the way we wanted
Não
to show it.
teria
And we've
como
actually
ele
been
brigar com
testing
uma cobra daquele
things for this god
tamanho.
for a really long time to try to get it working because we had to
Você
make some interesting
conseguiria
decisions
brigar
to
com
make
uma
this
cobra
happen,
daquele
but
tamanho?
it's finally here and we're super excited about it.
Acho que não.
He's so cool. I cannot wait for you guys to get a chance to see him. So for those who aren't as familiar with Yorm
Vai
and
ficar fora do
what-
mapa.
why he's such a
É,
big
parte
figure
dela
in
não vai
Norse
aparecer, né?
mythology, give us some
Dele,
quick
na
background
verdade.
on
É porque a
his
gente
lore.
fala ela porque é uma
Quick
cobra.
background
né?
lore, Clumsy, you want this or you
Certo.
want me to
No,
take
you,
it?
you know way more about that.
Yeah, I mean, he's got some interesting stories.
Na
that
lore
are
da
a little
mitologia da
sillier
empate.
that you can go read
Ah,
for
mentira,
yourself, but
né?
I'm not gonna go into
Hum,
those.
é,
These are kind of like his
By
like
Thor.
side tales.
Yeah.
Right.
But his main emphasis in ancient Norse mythology is he arrives at the time of Ragnarok.
Right.
So at the time of Ragnarok is after the Great Winter, and there's going to be a war that's going to destroy the Norse
O
gods.
pessoal tá falando que chega amanhã,
And
acho que é
Yorm
no
appears
PTS que
and
chega amanhã.
Releases his venomous breath into the
É
air.
difícil,
part
tipo,
of
eles
just
vão
kind of
lançar
the
sem testar, né?
apocalypse, really.
Sure.
So he arrives.
chance
at
contra a
Ragnarok,
cobra.
and, he's described to be the Midgard serpent,
mata a
and
cobra,
Midgard
meu
was
filho.
like
Pega
the
ela assim,
world
ó.
to
Earth,
them.
yeah, the Earth.
So
Literally the world, yeah.
he's described as the world
Dou
serpent or
uns
serpent as big as
choques
the world,
e ela morre.
and often symbolized in his Ouroboros symbol, where he's
Tem
biting
essa
his own
cobra no
tail
God of War
as a
4.
symbol of cycles and rebirth, and just in nature and history. So
And I was thinking on the Smite's lore as well, he's very relevant in the recent
right, so
Arthurian
yeah.
Pantheon event. That's what I was thinking.
As a
of.
Ragnarok character, historically, we brought him into the Smite lore as we're kind of reaching the end of our Ragnarok arc in the Smite storyline, and the way
Vamos mostrar
our
em game
gods
já?
are being
Sim, vamos mostrar em
presented in the
game.
Right.
So here is Yorm, kind of the final battle of Ragnarok and Smite before we'll move on to a new stage of the story.
So cool. All right, you guys have to see him. However
Que o
big you
Thor
think he
faria
is,
sem
he's
seu
probably going to be
martelo.
bigger. Let's see.
Temos aí o card.
Jormungandr
E agora a gente vai ver
in-game.
dentro do jogo.
So, you guys
Eu
are
vou
gonna,
tampar a
you
tela
guys are
pra
gonna love
você.
it. Are you, Pon, all this build up, and you
Trollaram,
mess it
ó.
up and it's Odin.
Vai ser
That's
o
really
Odin,
awesome.
na verdade.
There he is.
boy.
Did he just he just popped out of the ground? This is, like, Odin's a big dude. Look at how big he is. That is like just preposterously
running
Fizeram
away
uma
from
graça
Pon.
aqui, a gente vai ver
Pon is
agora.
out of there,
home.
dude.
Oh, Infinite Blink, that's a fun cheat.
Yeah, that is that sounds about appropriate. And that wasn't dev silliness or anything like that. Well,
Not
besides
the Yorm
blinking.
part.
No,
Right,
he's
not the
not
Yorm part.
scaled in any sort of weird way for that presentation. That's just how.
Achei que
big
seria
he
um
is.
pouquinho
That was
maior,
an
né?
Odin size, and that
tudo
was
bem.
Jormungandr.
You're
a
like
big boy.
really looking up at your
Aí, agora a gente
Here
tem
he is
ela.
in all of his glory. And that pop out wasn't again any dev shadiness. It was just Jormungandr.
Yeah,
That's
that's
part of
what
his
it is.
kit, as
Yep.
we'll get to.
Cobra.
He has a heavy. He's a guardian, and he is designed around the concepts of zone control, and he's got a bit of an ambush type of style to him. So the zone control, I think we brought that friend to the design because of his history and lore about the world. Right, he is a global presence, and
Right.
although his ultimate may or may not be officially global.
Oh, there's another one.
Yeah, that's how big he is when you're
My
just driving him
God.
around in the game. So the kit is designed around zone control and a bit of an ambush because that's a snaky thing to do, right? So it's snake and it's world are
Every
the core
time.
things.
Tá aí, ó, a
And then,
visão dela vai
just
ser
as you can
pouco
see
mais
here, just
acima,
moving it
né?
around,
Bem
he feels
óbvio,
very
você tá
different from
jogando
other
com um
gods. His
personagem
camera
que é mais alto do que
is
os
roughly
outros.
3 times taller than other tall gods in the game. This can make navigating through the jungle a bit difficult from time to time, but it comes
E
at
vai
a big
andar assim
advantage,
pelo
which
mapa,
is
não
when,
cabe no
when
Switch.
Jorm is in a complicated battleground, he can
Cara.
see so much more around him.
Oh yeah, easily.
yeah.
And the ability to see over walls, see what camps are being taken, that's all part of the advantage
Yeah,
of
and,
being the World Serpent.
He takes up a little more room on the player controller's screen who's controlling him. A lot of gods come up to about half, their heads come up to about half point in the screen. You can see he's a little higher.
That's his jump.
Taking the
Hey,
camera
Honey.
up too much higher was starting to get really zoomed out. We
Yeah.
felt like this was really a sweet spot where the player can still see what's going on and actually can see a lot more about what's going on around them
Overall, yeah,
than a
easily.
normal god, but didn't make it feel like a completely different game.
Yeah,
So-
there's definitely some concessions for his camera height to
Do
make sure that
Panteão
the player
Kid
really
Bengala,
feels how
que é
grandiose
isso?
and large he is without blocking too much of their screen.
We pushed everything to the maximum as far as we could. He is essentially just his snake body fits inside Kepri's hitbox, which is the biggest god in the game. And then he is, of course,
You
way
could stack
taller.
those Odins.
What
You
the
literally
fuck,
stack
velho?
them one on top
Right.
of the
Oh,
other.
And he
No,
really
three
is
of them, I
impressive
think.
when you see him in
Os
context
caras estão
with things
fazendo
If you see him next to,
duplo
like, a
sentido
Ratatosk,
no
this is
negócio,
insane.
cara.
I was gonna say, like next to Cupid or Ratatosker, it's gonna be
So,
really preposterous.
Khepri, the previous largest god in the game, and Fafnir Dragon, he's 2 to 3 times taller than those characters, and using the same hitbox, which is the largest we've got.
All right,
So cool.
Yeah, let's get into his kit.
Let's get into it. So let's start with the passive because it doesn't actually. It's really about its basic attacks that it's focused on.
Sure.
Is that
So
where
you
you
wanna
wanna
start?
start?
Two core components.
Yes. So let's go with the basic attack component.
Okay, let's go with the basic
Right
attacks
off
just
the
in
bat.
general.
Let's
So
do the attack
Yor's
base.
basic attacks work a little bit differently. He's a big toxic dragon
Oh,
snake.
there he is.
Yeah, there's Ratatosk. Oh
So
wait.
tiny.
Oh nice. I was wondering who's jumping him up and down. Nah. Oh, that's kind of
That's
cute
good.
too.
There's Jorm's jump. Sneak
Yeah.
peek.
There it is. He's getting a lot of height there.
We did it.
Yep. So Yorm's
basic
basic
attacks.
attacks. It's a cone channel in front of him that rapidly ticks, as you can see. So it's doing it 0.2 second intervals, and then after a short period of time, it starts slowing down and then slowing down. So it's kind of a reverse.
É, vai ser aquele
overheating
sistema de
mechanic.
carga
So
ali,
then
né?
at the max cap of attack, it's pretty much going at a 0.5
A carga
second
dela
attack
ali
speed,
naquele
but it starts at a
caracol
0.2 second tick.
e ela vai usando.
Okay, so you can really burn people down.
Só que
for
eu
a
achei,
slight
eu
period
já,
of time.
já, tipo, já vi um
But
erro
it
aqui.
won't- You can't just sit there and left click a
Esse
gold
caracol
point
que tem
and
ali,
No,
eu
for
acho
sure,
que
you
seria
gotta
mais
give that
interessante
to-
se a
give him
carga
some time
fosse
to breathe
descendo,
back
né?
into
Tivesse uma
toxins.
animação
You
da
can see
carga
his
descendo
passive
aos
meter
poucos
to
e
show
não
you
por
as
partes
reached
ali.
the multiple stages of
Meio estranho, ficou
weakness.
feio, né? Parece que eles não
Empties
trabalharam
and then
muito
he
bem
stops
nessa
attacking
questão.
for a
There's
little bit.
definitely
Poderia
some
ser a
tweaks
carga
that
descendo
we're constantly making
lentamente
in
ali,
PTS. You're going to see
bonitinho,
something a little
fazendo a
bit different.
animação
The passive
bonitinha
meter
da
is going
carga
to be more
descendo do
smooth, and
que
his basic attack
cortando
rate
em
will be
partes.
slowing down kind of more
Sei lá.
often than just in large gaps. So
Okay.
there's always, effects, sound effects, and some gameplay changes that you're going to be seeing in PTS and on his release.
Yeah, it'll be
Right.
like interpolating down over time.
Some final touches.
Yep.
Yeah, more of a slider than a knob.
Then a
E
knob.
aí,
Exactly.
Cali-
But
That's
that's
exactly.
not really
Calil-
his passive.
Putz, cara, eu não
No,
sei
no,
como
no.
te ajudar
You
nessa
guys talked a
questão
little
do
bit about
código.
in an article.
Right.
You're not going to be able to say Naja ult someone as big as
Right.
Jormungandr.
He
You're
is
not, you don't get to do
immovable.
that. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jormungandr's passive is immovable, and this means that with it we had to create a new glossary term and a new term in Smite called hard displacement. And Jormungandr cannot be affected
Vai
by
ser
hard
Guardião.
displacement in any way. So that means if Fenrir tries to grab Yorm, if Naja is trying to ulti, if
Vai ser
Kuzenbo
Guardião.
is trying to spin or push through Jormungandr, he is just not going to be affected by those movements. But instead, he will be hit with a debuff called Dazed that will slow him down at a 20% movement slow to Jormungandr. That will fade over a little bit
Eu
of time.
também espero
And
que
that's
sim.
a 2-second max
Olha, ela
duration.
não consegue
It'll
ser
also increase
empurrada,
the
não
damage he
consegue ser
takes by
lançada pro
10%
ar, não
for that
consegue...
time.
Oh wow.
Fazer
So it's
nada
still,
do
I mean, that's a
tipo.
pretty strong drawback. To yes, it's super good that you can't get on her impaled, but instead of getting stunned against the wall, now you take 10% more damage and are slowed for
Right.
for a short duration. So it's still good.
It's an important thing to note there that that's going to be an important balance note for us going forward. That knob to turn on his passive to really find the,
Counter de
the
Awilix?
level that
É, a
feels
Awilix
fair.
não consegue puxar também.
Being immune to this many types of CC effects in the game, like he just walks right through Poseidon Whirlpool, doesn't care, doesn't pull him.
Oh,
He
but
gets
yeah, 'cause
slowed.
that's an
He gets slowed, but he
yeah.
doesn't get pulled. Like
Right.
Hades ult, he can just walk out.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah,
There's
Tyr-
a lot of
Man,
things.
the counter matchup against Tyr, like
Yeah,
you just
absolutely.
literally can't
Oh,
get
yeah.
fearless.
Yeah, I mean Fenrir can bite him, and Fenrir will just use his ult and hit the damage, but won't pick him up and move him anywhere. So there's a lot of things. So we wanted to make sure we had a
Oh,
way
Baron
to
ult, yeah.
offset that. just to make sure we could control that from a design perspective to see what felt normal.
Não é puxada.
Foolish Barrett.
But
Yeah.
you know, it's also pretty thematic. He's this large dragon that is pretty much encompassing the entire world.
Yeah.
He, you know,
Right.
yeah.
Well, not only is it thematic, it was determined early on in our testing
Yes,
that this
absolutely.
god would not exist.
Right.
If we could not design him in this way.
I
we
mean-
weren't gonna. We did it. We had a version where he had a whole bunch of snake body, like a whole bunch, and then when he got ulted, that would all come up out of the ground.
No, thank you.
And we were just like, it looks bad, it feels bad, it doesn't make sense with his
weird.
scale.
Right.
We can't possibly make it long enough to
Yeah.
feel correct.
Sim, ela vai
Yeah,
tomar
so we
mais
were like,
dano,
the
né?
only
No
way
caso,
this
ela
god
toma
is
mais
happening
dano por
is
causa da
if we make
passiva
this
dela,
design
né? A
rule.
passiva ela não
And we were pretty
consegue ser
confident we could
jogada,
balance it
empurrada,
to
etc e
enough.
tal.
So
Exactly.
Porém, toma
honestly,
mais
if
dano.
we turn those numbers up enough, this could easily become a debuff as part of the kit than a buff.
Right.
If
Exactly.
he's taking 30% increased damage from every knockup ability and for duration afterwards, like that might be significantly weaker than just being knocked up.
in the first place.
So I
Exactly.
feel like we'll be able to find that balance point, and I feel like the starting point right here is a pretty safe start.
I remember
Nenhum
very
Ares,
early
eu
on
acho
when
que
I got
nenhum
hired,
Ares
I
vai
was like,
conseguir
yo,
puxar
man, you know
ela.
what'd be sick and smite Jormungandr. For the millionth time, I'm sure you heard that. And you were
Só
like,
achei que a
okay, what's
animação
gonna
do ataque
happen when
básico
he
podia
gets
ser mais
Sylvanas
explícito.
ulted? And I was
Concordo,
like,
concordo.
yeah, I don't
E
know.
Petra
Yeah,
só-
I don't really know. That doesn't really.
So,
yeah,
yeah,
okay,
those
I
are all
got
the things we had to keep.
So
in
yeah,
mind.
that was
Vai
one of the
absorver a
parts
ult
of the
do
really
Kumba?
early tests
Sim,
we
ela não vai
we
ser
referenced
jogada
a few
pro
times
alto.
was us trying all those things out, and that's why we really wanted to make sure
Right.
he can't be moved. So
Yeah.
core
That's
part
his
of the god,
recall
core,
animation.
core reason he even exists.
Yeah.
Super
But
cool.
let's
okay.
move to his
Yeah,
first
let's do
ability.
the first ability, Venomous Haze.
Yeah, Venomous Haze is Jormungandr's first ability, and as you can see
Ah, a
there,
primeira
it's got
habilidade
the inner circle
dela-
radius and something a little bit larger. So he fires out a projectile from his gaping maw that does damage on impact, and then creates a large toxic cloud that lasts a pretty long
Okay,
time, and that's
nuvem
probably the
tóxica.
core to his entire kit. Because we were talking
Vai
about how
causando dano por
he's
tique.
very deployable heavy. He's wanting to manage and the battlefields with his toxins.
Eu acho que ela vai
and
poder
deployables. So this is his first
entrar
ability,
numa nuvem
Venomous
dessa e
Haze,
sair
that
na
does
outra
damage on impact
nuvem.
and leaves a 20-second duration
Wow.
cloud that deals damage every second and slows enemies inside of it for every second.
And it looks
And-
like that pink circle is.
Ou a
is moving
ultimate
out
dela,
that
porque
Yeah,
olha o
time
ícone da
range.
ultimate dela. Eu acho que a
And
ultimate.
this is also,
Sei, vamos ver,
in a
mas
good
eu acho que alguma coisa vai
interact with
acontecer.
other parts of this kit.
Okay, so something to keep an eye on. So then let's, if I know I don't want to move too fast here, but let's move on to one of the abilities that will end up using.
Yeah,
this
exactly.
cloud.
So we can go straight to the second ability.
Galera,
Consuming
302
Bellow.
pessoas
So
na
not
live, muito
interacting
obrigado a todo
with
mundo
any
que tá
of his
assistindo. Se
clouds.
você
Consuming
quiser seguir a minha
Bellow is
fanpage
a
aí,
large
segue aí, eu
channel
faço
ability
lives todos os dias,
that
os
deals
Smite.
damage, trembles, and
E
slows
fiquem
at
que
the
hoje
end
vai
of
ter
its eruption.
sorteio de
So
um
you
passe
can
de
see over there,
batalha.
it's a
Compartilha
20
se
unit
puder
radius, 20 radius AoE around him, where he can't do anything. He does have a little bit of damage mitigation, which is kind of offsetting his passive a little bit during the channel because that's all he can do. And now if there's a cloud in the radius up to a maximum of 3, it'll actually grow in size and deal extra damage.
Oh yeah, that got a lot bigger.
Aí ela
You can
pode
see the,
usar essas
projectiles
nuvens
there
aí pra
that
poder
show that you've used the cloud.
aumentar
Yeah,
a
it
parada
kind
dela.
of sucks him up into the.
Gostou
into
do
the
God? Ainda não
storm
vi
that's
todas
brewing.
In
as
fact, it's also taking
habilidades.
some of the duration. You can see those
Mas parece
yeah,
bem
we talked about,
interessante.
those indicating that those toxic clouds now last a much shorter
This is
amount
one of my
time.
favorite
Parece
design
bem
choices
interessante.
we've made on Yorm because we've had.
Tá
a
achando
lot of
ela
gods
alta
that
demais?
kind of
Eu tô achando ela
use things
menos
and we
alta do que eu
consume them, they
imaginava
go
que ela
back and
seria,
forth, and
tá
it creates
ligado?
some weird feelings.
Acho que
where
ela
you
seria
feel
muito
like,
mais
oh,
alta.
no,
They're
bye
gone
bye,
forever.
bye bye, Odins.
Nossa,
They do not
causa
like being
controle.
trembled.
The bots don't like being trembled. It used to create some weird feels where like it would kind of encourage you not to do the thing. because
Bugaram
then you'd be
hoje.
removing things and you'd be losing things, kind of like old Hades before we updated his passive and things like that.
Right, losing
So
the
what
blade.
we've done with Yorm is
Sem
actually when
compartilhamentos
he
vem outro
uses
código.
one of his
Eu não sei, eu vou
venomous
fazer um
clouds, he just
código
decreases their
e depois eu
duration,
vejo o
but
que que eu vou fazer.
they still remain there.
Gotcha.
And it was incredibly important, as we're going to see with some of his other
Valeu, Max
abilities, or
Vinícius.
the other two, that he's able to create all these clouds, but they don't all last on the battlefield for an incredibly long period of time, because that's going to leave a lot of visual clutter, and the opponents just won't be able to play around 10 fields. In fact, his maximum of toxic clouds is 9, and we want to keep that as a little thematic number 2. So
Which
Yeah.
is really pretty impossible to actually achieve.
It's
I was gonna
also,
say
yeah, it's also definitely worth noting that, like, especially when you have two Jormungandrs, we also do distinguish which poison cloud is yours by that blue outline. So for an enemy Jormungandr, you're gonna see a red outline.
Tried to go heavy on the enemy-friendly coloration, which we use throughout the game, but this one is especially important.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely very important
but
there.
let's get outside of the Odin's range and go into the third ability.
Yes,
So
submerge.
this one's interesting.
We'll probably be using Baron Bot for now because he's not been
Terceira
he's not
habilidade.
run away.
So
Not
Yeah.
quite
this
yet.
is Jormungandr's third ability, Submerge. As
Okay.
you can see, he goes underneath the ground, turning invisible and getting what I call a predatory vision sense, which is those sonar-like pulses
5
outwards.
segundos
And what
debaixo
that
da
does is it
terra.
allows him to see enemy gods. Only Jormungandr
Ela consegue
through
ver atrás
walls,
da
through
parede,
fog
ela
of
tem
war,
tipo um
and through
sonar,
invisibility.
né?
Stealth gods.
So that means if there's a Loki, an Alquang, and Izanami that's trying to stealth away,
Ok,
well, he will
legal,
be able to find
gostei.
them.
Sonar pulsing. I mean, whoever's playing Yorm better have good communication because you
Vai
know
servir
I
de
need to hear
vigia.
he's running north, he's going towards mids. Like I gotta know. Give me your sonar call outs right away. And then a
E
big
ainda quando
knockup
sobe,
when
causa
he
um
gets
dano.
Exactly. So you
as
can
well.
see on his emerge, when it refires, it knocks up enemies and does damage. He can be CC'd out of this, in which case he's not going to knock up enemies. And also, if he takes any
Okay.
damage from gods while he's stealthed, it will break the stealth.
Oh, okay. So it's more like an Alquang stealth than a Loki
Exactly.
It doesn't break him
Yeah.
out of the ability. It just lets you see him swimming towards you.
Oh, okay, I understand.
So you'll still see
you
the
won't lose
Giga
your
War.
knockup potential necessarily.
Exactly.
And my favorite part about this is, I'm a Guardian main, and you are always looking for ways in Smite as a Guardian to get in on the enemy team and then crowd control them. So, like using Blink,
What the fuck,
and
você é um
Gemalt,
deus?
or
Falei, Caio,
using
é
a
um deus.
Fafnir leap and then ulting and things like that, or Bacchus flop. This is a new way to do that as a Guardian, where you actually can try to stealth into their squad and then knock them up and then make a team play off it, team fight off it, which is just super fun.
And
That's so
we
cool.
also need to make sure to mention that it's also movement speed increase, right? So the way he can chase down enemies and lurk underneath the ground,
It's a slight
it's a
movement
slight
speed increase.
movement
Podia
It's
speed.
atravessar
difficult
as
to really run
paredes,
people
né?
down with this. We want
Right.
you to
Yeah.
have to be tactical with it.
Right.
You gotta be
I'm just thinking of
stealthy.
the cool moments
não
where
sei.
you're in the
Será?
team fight breaks out, Yorm's in the middle of it, and then he just submerges.
Qual a
and you're
pior
like, is he
passiva?
going
Eu
on
acho
me?
que é a
Is he
do
going to help
Ganesha.
his back line? Like, what's gonna happen
And in
here?
fact, right there, Pon showed off the last thing that Submerge does, which is if he interacts with any of his current Toxic Clouds on the ground, it takes some of the duration and it creates 2 new deployables as well.
Quando ela
So
sobe, ela
that's a way
ainda
of
cria
getting
duas
rid of
nuvens.
Shortens duration.
Exactly.
That's really cool and sets him up beautifully for his 2 right there.
Yeah,
as
it
Pon
does.
showed
It
up.
does.
Legal.
So you've got a really strong combo here as Yorm. You toss the cloud, then get it ready for the next one.
It can be difficult to really throw a cloud on an opponent and then go underground. And
Salve,
build cloud
Jonathan.
on it,
Voltei
so
pro Smite. Vou me
these
arrepender?
are
Não, você tá
abilities,
voltando no
although they have
momento
synergies,
exato
they have
de
synergies in
jogar
multiple
pra caramba,
directions,
porque
and you
vai
can
vir
use
um
them in
personagem
multiple
novo.
orders for differing levels of the combo. Whereas pulling off the
Quando
true
ela chega,
combo,
próximo
the
patch.
1 into the 3 into the fully charged 2 is actually pretty difficult to execute.
But
What?
it seems like you get a pretty good reward. Should it work
Oh,
out
yeah.
for you?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And one of my favorite things about just like these poison clouds is they're great for crowd control and like managing where people are going.
Yeah.
He can block off an entire entrance to his duo lane with that.
Yeah,
You know, then
zone
you're
control.
sacrificing a lane clear ability pretty heavily there, but you can do that
Son.
without worrying about a gank. So.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. And of course, you only have 1 charge. It's not a charge-based ability, so you do need to wait for the cooldown.
Gostou?
Right.
Até o momento eu tô
Absolutely.
gostando. Vamos ver o
But
Ultimate.
it's pretty strong.
Se o
Right.
Ultimate vai valer a pena.
I think this is the part that everyone exclaims about. We have to show off his ultimate.
Yeah.
You know what?
Real quick, before you
Oh.
do that, Clumsy, all of you viewers at home, sit down. Make sure your drink isn't anywhere near you. Make sure you're nice and calm. Take a deep breath, and let's show
Yeah.
off.
Tô curtindo eles lançarem deuses mais seguido. Vamos ver se eles mantêm o ritmo, né?
Yeah, that's it.
Look at that
Oh.
guy.
So cool. Oh, it's so cool.
So when we were brainstorming Jormungandr, pretty much every single discussion I had with all the different
Como é que é?
departments all said that he needs to be massive. He's the World Serpent.
Quando
He
sai a
needs to do
atualização lá no
something that you
Smite
just
em
don't see
breve,
in
cara.
Smite. He
Não
needs to
sei
really
exatamente
show
o
off
dia,
the
não.
fact that he's going to be
Dois.
going around this battlefield and he can encompass the entire world,
Três.
right?
So insane,
So,
man. Oh, it's so
There
cool.
were a lot of technical difficulties to make sure this worked, but there was nothing else that we really wanted to do for this ultimate.
Yeah.
Yeah. Josh and his team are working nonstop
Dois.
on this
E
ability.
empurra o
mostly.
I think
cara
at
Yeah.
one
que
point
estiver
we
na
had
área
literally
3.
all of our
It
programmers.
was literally the
working
Okay,
entire
gostei,
gameplay
gostei,
team
gostei,
at
é
one
bom,
point
Ultimate é legal.
working on this ultimate
Shoutouts to
ability.
Nick and Ryan and Chaos as well for helping
Ultimate é
out.
boa,
Yeah.
vai ser boa em
Jordan too, for
teamfight,
sure.
cara.
So yeah, and Jordan our lead. So there's a lot of things going on here.
So yeah, let's break
The
it. down.
Yeah,
gameplay
please do.
functionality
Okay.
specifically here is
Come
it's a
on.
multi-hit area.
Palmas.
Okay.
So he's gonna go. He's during that warm up is a long channel time where he can be damaged. Then he goes untargetable for the entire duration, so you can't hurt him during these arcs.
Sure.
And then you get 3 different targeting stages where you can deal damage, and you'll deal damage at the location he exits the ground, at the location he enters the ground, and then his body will fall, dealing reduced damage
Right,
on the middle.
which is that
middle
spline
of,
rectangular section you can see.
Okay,
So
yeah.
right
I
there.
mean, the body's got to go somewhere, right?
Yep.
So it kind of collapses in
Yeah.
Exactly.
and crushes you,
When
you
measly
little god.
yeah,
Like,
when you,
Little
you're just getting
gods.
ready. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's in his voice lines
Oh,
too.
yeah, it is.
When you
Key
enter
part.
out of the ground and you exit as well, he does a knock away. So any enemies in that area are going to be knocked away from the massive girth of Jormungandr.
Okay.
And,
There was a
I
brief
thought Tina left.
Então dá
this
pra
episode.
roubar jogo de fogo à vontade com esses.
Collision
Não sei se é à vontade, né?
Right.
Falei Guilherme Calambres,
So he's
né?
creating small
Mas
Wow,
esse é um
that's
bom
good.
personagem.
brief walls even.
That's really strong. And the big thing is, I mean, how do you peel this? I mean, you're
Oh,
my
yeah.
man's is moving.
Oh, yeah.
And you got he is really schmoving around, and you've got no answer to it.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to be doing this, and he can't even escape this ability, so he's got to fire all 3 shots. You won't be
Okay.
able to break out of this early. Jormungandr is locked into that move once he fires it. He also, on submerging back into the ground, leaves a short duration Toxic Cloud as well, so you can see, you know, one cloud is created there, another on the second fire, and then finally on the third.
Yeah, those are
Yeah.
pretty short duration though. Only a couple seconds there.
Yep.
I just like I'm
Legal,
imagining
legal,
myself
fizeram
like
personagem bom.
chilling in mid lane. I'm doing my thing, clearing my minions, Zeus detonating people left and right. And then this man is gonna come like bounding out of the jungle at me, and I'm gonna be terrified.
Yeah.
I mean,
If
Galera,
it's
vai,
as old as
vai
you see
acontecer o
coming,
seguinte
if it's
agora,
three,
tá?
you might
Assim que
just
terminar o
like,
patch
that is
note,
straight up,
eu vou ali
that's
beber uma
true.
água, eu vou
There's
voltar.
nothing more terrifying
Eu tenho
than a
alguns
Yorm
desafios
coming
pra
at you from
fazer.
the sky.
Eu
so
tenho que
you're like
jogar
doing
de
gold, you're like
Achilles
rush it before it gets here.
Jungle.
You see him coming.
Vamos em Cap Jungle,
Mother of
Afrodite
God.
solo.
You know, it's like
A gente vai
it's
continuar a live
instant,
stream,
like,
eu vou continuar
oh, crap
jogando.
moment.
Really, we wanted to
E
show
aí
off
até
just-
as
we
20
wanted to
horas,
make
não
Yorm
vai ser às
really
20
world
horas, tá? Vai
circumcised
ser
as best we
entre
could.
agora e as 20
So he's
horas.
huge here.
Eu vou dar um jeito de
This
colocar
ability
esse
is
código aí
especially
pra
good
vocês
for
tentarem pegar, beleza?
rotations, moving from lane
E
to
aí
lane.
depois eu
It's
vou,
pretty good at
quando
securing
terminar,
kill,
quando
it's
der as
also
20
very
horas, eu
low
vou
health.
abrir uma nova
Although
live
it
até
is,
as
it
22,
is quite jukeable.
onde eu vou jogar
Sure.
Apex
The
Legends.
amount of
Então,
you gotta go
eu
pretty
vou jogar
wide
Smite
because
agora
the
e mais
body's
tarde vai ter
gonna come
Apex
down and slam
Legends.
you too.
Assim que
Yeah,
terminar o
sure.
patch note
But
aqui,
you
eu
do
vou
have a
beber
good
uma água, já
time.
volto, a
I
gente
mean,
continua
like
e depois a
Fish
gente
and
faz o
Poncho we've been
sorteio
battling against a
do
lot,
passe de
have gotten
batalha.
pretty good at juking the ultimate, for sure.
Yeah.
Já sou
And as a
main desde o
Guardian, it's
beta.
not necessarily super high
What the
damage if
fuck?
you only hit a part of it.
Right.
But it can be good for chasing down that
Posta o
person.
vídeo rápido, cheguei
Yeah, when you're
agora.
entering back into the ground, there is a warning
Então,
effect
tem que
so that
esperar
enemies
terminar
know
aqui, né,
where
pra
you're
poder
gonna be
colocar o
going.
vídeo no
And
canal.
the big important thing to mention in terms of his damage
Vai lá,
is
Eric.
that when he's entering into
Muito
the
bom o
ground,
personagem.